Hello, I'm Katerina Ahrens, and I live in San Antonio, Texas, and I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. I grew up there, and the whole time growing up there, I was very aware of the Native American energy of the mound builders. It's a very sacred energy from their, it says Edgar Cayce's Forgotten Record of Ancient America. So that helped shape me. So this is going to be a show and tell. The next really significant thing, I was 15, and my mom brought home this very tired book called The Family of Man, that's of a photographic exhibit that was in New York City in the 50s. And my body resonated with this one. It's about the theme of we are all one people. And I came into this world knowing in every cell of my being, we are one family. And that has been one of my banner songs throughout my life. I have three banners that would represent who I am in my life. One is, we are all one. All living life is one. The second is to bring the energies of heaven to earth through me. That has been a motivating, powerful force throughout my lifetime. And the other is, inner peace leads to world peace. And as a counselor for the last 40 years and life coach, I truly believe when we heal and are whole, that when we have inner peace, then that's what's going to lead to outer peace, because once that happens, it flows out. I had one clue that about the vision holders as far as that being a part of my life. And that's where decades and decades ago, I saw this picture in a book and my insides just resonated with it. One, it has the Native American energy, but it also is that whole, it's called Ayaconqua, which means womankind. And this is that energy of birthing a new earth. And it's interesting that I live in Texas, and in this image there is a baby in the womb in the Texas area of Earth. The next was age 39/40, and it's when I had a 20-year marriage end that was absolutely devastating to me. And those times of crisis, those times when life absolutely falls apart on us, is also when the spiritual gifts move in. The broken heart is the doorway to the soul. And White Eagle, the book White Eagle, this one, Heal Thyself, fell into my lap. Just one of those quote-unquote coincidences, God incidences. This introduced me to White Eagle, and little did I know at the time that was going to shape the rest of my life. That White Eagle and the White Eagle Lodge has become my home base, my spiritual group, for the last 33, 36 years. The other book that fell into my life was about the Michael Overleaves, The World According to Michael. And this is what I call life's instruction book that none of us got, but it would be helpful to have. And one of the things it says is explaining soul age. And this one talks about an old soul's guide to the universe. And it made so much sense of understanding who I am, what I'm about, and those three banners that I shared earlier. After that, I started living my life by this White Eagle quote. The first and greatest claim upon you is the claim of God, or of your spirit, or in other words, your highest self. Your true self is a shining spirit. You must be true to that shining spirit above all things. Let nothing draw you aside from your soul's pursuit of truth and light and eternal love. White Eagle. I started reading that quote every single morning and filtered all of my choices and decisions through that quote, which has shaped my life. I also, during that time, ran across a book called Reach for Us, and it was about all the higher beings that are unseen and how they are helping us and all from all over the universe coming in to work with us to create and co-create this new world. I attended my very first spiritual retreat that was an Edgar Cayce one, that was a dream healing workshop, and that turned out to be a profound impact on my life, of really learning about the soul part of me and how basically, it was a mystical experience of being given a sneak preview of heaven during a profound meditational time. The weekend was a dream healing workshop, and it became very real to me that the heavenly realms are real and they are with us and connecting with us. And in given that sneak preview of heaven, it was like, all is well with my soul, even when it is not well with my circumstances. That retreat, ironically, was on on exactly the same day, 1 year after my divorce of that 20-year marriage. And I was devastated. And my question that week is, would my broken heart ever heal? Well, in that being given a sneak preview of heaven, which is similar to the stories people share of the near-death experiences, the energy during that was just pure bliss, absolute pure bliss. And any of the heartaches and fears and worries of this world, this realm, totally disappeared. It's like that energy level, there's just no space for the lower vibrational energies. So that's when I knew heaven is real, and not only is it real, but I could experience what it felt like, and I experienced their communicating with us. And I came back from that weekend changed forever. And one of the things the inner voice, I just call it the inner voice, the intuition, the higher being said, they said, call at the bookstore, the metaphysical bookstore, go to the bookstore and ask for the book, The Rainbow Bridge. Well, I'd never heard of such a book as The Rainbow Bridge. So I call them, and with kind of some trepidation, I say, do you have a book called The Rainbow Bridge? And their response was, which volume? And I'm like, what? Which volume? Well, it turns out The Rainbow Bridge had 2 volumes, and it talks about the bridge between heaven and earth, which is also called the Anakarana. And this is my symbol for the Anakarana, the colors of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and the violet, for the Rainbow Bridge, the Anakarana, that connects us with the heavens, that bridge is heaven to earth. And there's my thing about bringing heaven to earth that's been a part of my being. And ever since then, I've had fun with jewelry. I've had fun with the dangling earrings and the fun with that. And with my sacred journeys, I come home with different ones from my sacred journeys. And I have become a moving physical altar with my rings, where this one stands for connecting with the higher beings. This one stands for connecting with the elementals and the devas. This one stands for the water kingdom and the mermaids. This one stands for the star, which is the white eagle. When White Eagle talks about healing, it does a daily prayer called Let the Light Shine. And the star, the 6-pointed star, is the White Eagle symbol. For the triangle down is the heavenly beings focusing on us. The triangle up is us in our physical human selves. And when we can bring those into perfect balance, then the Christed self, the Christed energy, is born within the heart. And one group calls it the rose blooming in the heart. So my jewelry is fun. It's my constant reminder to keep those things in mind. And the blue sapphire does, when it's in the sunlight, does the star. And my ring to the right of it is from Madagascar, and it has a circle. It has an earth or round ball with a circle around it. So that's my symbol for the earth. So when I wear these 2 rings, it's reminding me, shine the star on the earth. Be that energy. I focus on living as the chalice, of opening myself to the higher energies from the morphogenic field, from that higher consciousness that is there for all of us to tap into. And with faith and unconditional love and trust, that energy is there all the time for all of us to bring in through our physical bodies and magnify it, show it in the earth, be that. White Eagle talks about let the love go out from your heart like the fragrance of the rose out into the earth. And the powerful thing is the higher beings magnify it. So that was followed by many years of leading White Eagle groups here at my home, at the local bookstore. And the White Eagle talks about that six-pointed star with the cross within a circle and the rose blooming in the middle. And this, I set this up in my backyard when I paved the backyard with flagstones. I set up that design of the cross within the circle with the heart with the rose blooming in the center. My next clue that there was stuff going on ahead of me was Celeste out of Sedona drew this as my soul portrait. And it's just filled with light and surrounding the earth with light. And it so matched that original Ayaconqua drawing. I thought, wow, it's the same theme, it's the same image. So those were clues. I also, in my 40s, it was one life trauma after another with a divorce. And then my daughter was 10 at that time. And then when she was 14, she totally lost the use of her hands and arm, especially her right arm and right hand. Long, long story. But that was a source of a couple more mystical experiences and spiritual laws, the truth of spiritual laws. So this is my image that's the symbol that reminds me of how powerful that miracle was, because bottom line is I learned in that mystical experience we have the power to heal. When Jesus said to his disciples, "You're going to do all I'm doing and more," during that experience it was like jump-starting her arm. And it was tapping in, well, first of all, the energy that came through me, where my body was just oscillating, was when I was 12, my father lost his eyesight and became totally blind. And that was very painful for me and what counselors would call the original wound. And the first part of that healing experience with my daughter Lisa was that energy oscillated from my waist back and forth up out of my head, and then from waist down out my root chakra. And the inner voice was saying during that, this is the energy that still your body still held from the trauma of your father's blindness. So it cleared that out. And then right behind that came in this healing energy, tapping into it to basically jumpstart my daughter's arm. And the inner voice at that time, this wasn't a painful thing. It just was a whole other level of awareness. And that's when the inner voice said, you need unconditional love and faith and trust to tap into that healing energy, but it's there all the time for any of us. And boy, nothing like the unconditional love of a mother to a daughter. I was the mother lion. I was determined to have her arm and hand functioning again. And because of the previous experiences, I'd been intensely, just like a hungry sponge, learning all the metaphysical and spiritual knowledge. And so otherwise if my daughter had not been functioning at all, there's no way she would have done this. But we did past life regressions, that she'd had many, many previous lifetimes of injuries to her arm, her hands, where they'd been crushed, they'd been cut off, her hand had been cut off, etc. Anyway, during that experience, I was filled afterwards with a peace of she's going to be fine. Now you have to understand at that time, her arm still hung off her body like it was a dead limb waiting to be cut off. And she was sitting in the car waiting for me during this. But I knew there was just a clear peace within. Once that happened, I had to really work to get the energy all the way down my arm. It wanted to stop at my elbow. Then it wanted to stop at my wrist. And I kept saying, no, I want total healing, total. And I finally got it into every finger of my right hand. And it was I knew then she's going to be fine. And the inside voices again said, give thanks as if it is already real. Have that level of faith of knowing. Don't be deceived by the appearance of things. Know that on the higher level, when things are created, they're created first on the higher level in thought, in vision, and then they come through later in manifest form. So I just knew it. And the inside voice again said, give thanks. So it was just pure gratitude. I found out later through one of the ones in my White Eagle group who has the gift of vision, being able to see. When I described the experience, she said Mother Mary was standing behind me, which, nothing like a mother to have the love for their child. So of course it would be Mother Mary that was working through me, with that, of course. And ever since then, Mother Mary has been very, very close in my heart. And Mother Mary is a part of the Vision Holders Project, and she was a part of the earlier project called Let There Be Light. Another book around that time that came through, and yes, I am a bookaholic. I'm constantly reading. This is called Sacred Eyes, Seeing the World Through Sacred Eyes. An invitation to view the entire human journey and your own life with sacred eyes. And it's Robert Keck, and I mention it on the website. And he describes the entire journey of human life. And as a counselor, I've always worked with people with the different developmental stages of one human life. Well, this was taking that same knowledge and information and expanding it to all of humanity, of our childhood stage, our adolescent stage, and the phase we're in now of shifting from adolescent to adult, to be moved to get the balance finally of male and female energies, to honor the land, to honor women, to honor the animals, and to bring a balance of equality where all people count, and to be based on spiritual value systems. And that's the transition we're in at this time, with the Piscean age falling apart with a lot of resistance, and the Aquarian age moving in more and more and more. All of this, you're saying, what does this have to do with vision holders? Well, those are all the steps leading up to this, getting me ready. Then I was going to go to what's called the Michael Conclave in Banff Springs, Alberta, Canada in spring of 1994. And a matter of like 3 days before going, this book was put into my hand, The Only Planet of Choice. It's channeled material by Phyllis Schlemmer called The Nine. And in this book, there was a sentence that again profoundly changed my life. It was the third time I came across the information, the power of one person working with that higher vibrational energy of the higher thoughts can impact 10,000 people. It said, I've read that 2 other times, but this time it went one sentence further and it said, for example, a person working with one person can impact 10,000, and then it said, for example, 100 can impact 1,000,000. Whoa, I'm like, that just grabbed my insides. And at that point in time, San Antonio had 1,000,000 people. And I naively, innocently thought, oh, I can do that. I can get 100 people for San Antonio. It was harder than I thought, but anyway. And then the inside voice said, no, this is not just for San Antonio. This is for the entire world, the entire globe. And I went, what? Wait a minute. And I also said, my ego side said, oh, that's a good idea. I'll do it after the conclave. Again, the inner voice said, no, this is for the Michael Conclave. And I'm like, yikes, that's only 3 days. Well, I didn't have a computer yet. We're thinking 1994. I had a friend who had a computer. We sat down, worked 24 hours a day, put a brochure together, and I took it to the Michael Conclave. This was learning another spiritual truth. When the higher beings want something to happen, be prepared. There is an energy that knows no bounds. There is a magical miracle. Miracles are normal, and expect magic. I was networking this, looking for cities, states, countries, and I only had to think, oh, I need somebody in Spain. The next person I would meet was from Spain. Then, oh, I need somebody in Brazil. I'm only thinking it. The next person I meet would be from Brazil. Plus, Mother Mary was with me, giving me the fragrance of the rose throughout that entire thing. I was definitely at a different vibrational level. I knew no fear. There was none of the ego, self-doubt, any of that. There was just doing it. And it was like, they talk about the fire in the belly when something's going to be created. Well, it was a fire in the belly. And I actively worked on that for 3 to 4 years. And then the inside said, okay, this is like a baton race. You could slow down and pass the baton to another person. Also during that conference, somebody that had been watching me said, I'm being told to tell you this is a dress rehearsal. And I totally had forgotten that. And it made no sense to me at the time until now, 26 years later, COVID-19 hits. And I'm like, immediate. Oh, it was like, oh, this is what they were talking about. Of that, Let There Be Light was what that was called, was a dress rehearsal. And with Let There Be Light, this has always been the image that I have used. And it was, I started the Let There Be Light with that whole thing of one person for every 10,000. So in San Antonio, I worked to get one for every 10,000. And then when I networked it, it was inviting other people in their cities, their locations to do the same. At that conference, it just took off. Several people said they would translate it, take it where they were. Some talked about they got a computer, they put it onto the computer. It just, when something's meant to happen, the path clears, and boy, the path cleared. And in December of that year, I saw this image on the cover, the final globe, on the cover of the Sedona Journal. And I tracked down the person who created this image, called Cheryl Boinke in Indiana. And she and I were like kindred souls, where we were both given some of the same ideas at the same time. Mine was the information, hers was the image. So on the Vision Holders website, this is on the home page because it's the image for Let There Be Light, which is what I did then. And now it's called Vision Holders, which is a much more encompassing project. The other prediction, so the one saying this is a dress rehearsal, there was one other prediction this was coming. Joan, when the White Eagle Lodge here in Texas had its temple initiation, back in the 90s, early 90s, Joan, who's the daughter of Grace Cook, who channels White Eagle, who, when she was living, she's passed now, and Joan has passed now. She and I were talking, and then all of a sudden she stopped, and her eyes got wide, and she said, you're going to be doing something in the future that's going to impact a lot of people. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I said, is there something I need to do to prepare? And she said, no, it will just happen. So when COVID-19 hit, my insides immediately knew this was the time, this is now. I had the domain, the Vision Holders, that I'd had for 13 years. I had intended it for a book project for San Antonio. Personal events happened where it just got tabled 13 years ago. Well, now's the time. So I invite you to the Vision Holder website. I invite you to come on. It has 2 core parts. One is to help the individuals heal from healing to wholeness to holiness, because the stronger and the more each of us can become whole, the more energy and light and higher vibration and higher consciousness we bring to the grid. The other core part, obviously, of the whole vision holders is to, I've always been a connector between religions, a connector between groups of here's what we share in common. We share in common the human journey. We share in common the human family. And so what this project is about, in the Cultural Creatives book several years ago talked about there are 50 million cultural creatives. If they ever can get connected, if they ever can network, we're going to be changing the world. Well, this is about networking all the spiritual groups, the social justice groups, the animal rights groups, the earth environmental groups to come together. And this is like creating a roll call. The vision holders is in addition to whatever groups you may be involved with. It's not instead of. You're invited to come, sign in, sign up, add your name saying, I am here. This is my soul calling right now, and I know there are thousands and millions out there with the same kind of soul calling of needing to serve, needing to step up. This is our time. Let's unite in conscious awareness and form this grid that can cocoon the world to help during this rebirthing, to help during this resetting time. And COVID-19 stopped the world, and the energy of that went around the world in 3 months. Well, my goal with Vision Holders is we're launching it this Saturday with the summer solstice. The goal I'm putting out there, the challenge I'm putting out there is help me network this, help be a collaborator. Let's get this network, let's get this word out there and reach that goal of 1 million, which is critical mass, tipping point. Reach it by the fall equinox, this September 21st, along with the United Nations Peace Day and along with a week-long celebration of activities for celebrating peace. Please join me. Add your unique and needed and special energies. We each have a part in this grid, and all of us are needed. Thank you. Namaste.